Chapter 25. Past Lives. A soft chime sounded in Devonshire's study as Winter arrived via the household teleport.
"I'll be with you in a minute,"
she growled. The place was a maze made up of books, equipment, crates, boxes, and wax tablets stacked on every available horizontal surface. Murky liquid smoldered over burners in some corners. Leftover food molded on cheap crockery in other corners. Half-empty cups of a variety of fluids were tucked into easily forgotten places. Winter threaded his way aimlessly through the myth. He stopped to feed some caged rats the crusts from a pie plate. He read the labels on the spines of a few books, pulled down one or two, but quickly put them back. Following the sound of muttering, he came to where she was working. She sat in an overstuffed chair, a book propped open for reference on the edge of a table nearby. A few crystals floated around her head. From one emanated a complex changing pattern of magical forces. From another a visual glamour of a smoky shifting shape. She looked up suddenly as a small stack of boxes slid to the side, as Winter leaned against it.
"Oh, it's you,"
she said, surprised. With quick moves she darkened all the crystals and sent them into a pocket. She pulled herself out of the chair to hug him. The book fell off the edge of the table behind her into the cushions.
"How did it go?"
"Okay, I guess,"
he said, awkwardly returning the hug. They were about the same height.
"Linguistics was hard. Natural sciences."
He shook his head.
"I don't even know the basics of magic. Rhetoric was kind of fun."
Then he brightened.
"History was good. Penelope might even come visit me."
Devonshire raised her eyebrow.
"You have the hots for her too? Seems half the school does."
"What? No,"
protested Winter.
"She's way too old for me."
"Give it 100 years,"
said Devonshire, laughing.
"It won't seem like much then."
"I'll be dead in 100 years,"
said Winter, flatly.
"So will she. Orcs have even shorter lifespans than humans."
"It's just an expression,"
said Devonshire, sadly.
"And you aren't 100% human. We just don't know."
"Mother, I'm not going to turn 13, split my skin, and emerge an elfin child,"
he said stubbornly.
"This is who I am."
Devonshire looked deeply into his eyes.
"I carried you and gave birth to you. I still think there's some of me in there."
Winter snorted. After a while she continued,
"Did you get to ask the questions I wanted?"
"She said you should ask her yourself,"
said Winter, sharply. Devonshire looked sour. Winter relented.
"She also said that the underground folk are mostly what you would call spirits. They don't have souls, so the question is moot."
"What happens when they die?"
asked Devonshire.
"They die,"
echoed Winter.
"I don't think it's as simple as that,"
said Devonshire.
"It just doesn't make sense for all of these spirits and souls to come, poof, out of nowhere, and to go, poof, back into nowhere. The obvious conclusion is that spirits must reincarnate, and that's part of the natural order."
Winter looked at the cage of rats.
"If that's the case, couldn't you prove it by doing past life analysis?"
Devonshire sighed.
"It's not easy. Especially if your subject is a rat or a cat."
"But you told me when Angelica did it to you, most of your past lives were elves, but some weren't. Surely you could tell the difference between a rat and a cat?"
He edged forward.
"How about me? You actually knew me in my past life."
Devonshire looked at Winter very hard.
"The barriers between the memories of different lives are laid down pretty strongly in a soul. It takes a lot to break through them. You have to be subtle in order not to leave the door open so they can leak back in."
She shook her head.
"That's the very last thing I'd like to see happen to you. Your father was extremely strong-willed. You don't know the price I've paid in order to ensure he has had as little influence on you as possible."
"You mean you killed him?"
said Winter, coldly.
"That was before I knew you existed,"
said Devonshire, levelly.
"And we've been through this before. He had no memory and no followers, wandering confused around the ruins of what had been his civilization." Not a healthy situation for a battle god. I gave him the chance to end his existence fighting.
Winter and Devonshire both stared at the walls for a while.
Sometimes I think I hear him in my dreams,
said Winter, quietly.
Isn't that how Angelica talked to Lily?
Devonshire looked up, alarmed.
Yes. She left her soul to Lily when she died and just enough information on how to break through her past life barrier. It was a while before we called the League.
She shook her head.
We have our lives to live, our decisions to make, and our price to pay. That's the foundation of our morality. All this talk of living forever and mingling of past lives undermines that.
Maybe I should talk with her,
said Winter.
It sounds like we have common experiences. She could help.
Devonshire gave him a warning look.
Don't even think of asking her to break through your barrier.
Winter looked annoyed.
And I think you've flirted enough with the ladies this vacation. You should leave courting Lily until you are older. She's a bit of an odd fish.
Mother,
said Winter, disapprovingly.
I spend my life dealing with odd fish.
Devonshire laughed. Winter smiled.
Look, I know we only have a short amount of time together. And I hate to say this, but something's come up.
Winter let out a long sigh.
We've just been hit in the face with another atrocity.
Is that what you were looking at?
He asked, nodding toward the book.
What is it?
Demons,
said Devonshire.
It's bad enough the gods keep mana slaves. They barter them to demons to do their dirty work. They then warp them and distort them and torture them into abominations.
She pulled up one of the crystals and brought from it the shadowy shift shape.
Imagine all of your past lives pulled out of their shells as one being. One creature, vastly powerful.
Winter looked at the shifting image with morbid fascination. It struggled and shifted as the scene changed in time and perspective.
It's fighting someone. Who?
This is a memory taken from Sir Valkyr,
said Devonshire.
The Queen held it off single-handed for nearly an hour.
Winter's eyes grew very wide and he pressed closer to the glamour.
The Queen? An hour.
Devonshire dismissed the image, and laughed.
Now you can play court to her as much as you would like. I couldn't arrange a better marriage. I suspect she'd eat you for lunch. But it would be a good challenge.
He rolled his eyes.
Can I have a copy of that?
What? To creep out your undersea friends?
To study. How about I help you? I can find books for you. Or,
he said, indicating the rest of the room,
clean some of this up.
I can't believe my child is offering to clean up my toys.
She laughed.
No. I need to read a lot quickly, study this some more, and talk to a few people. I've already talked to Grey Wind. He's agreed to look after you.
Grey Wind?
said Winter, brightening.
Great. He can show me his secret lairs in the sewers.
I swear you two are the same mental age,
said Devonshire. Winter bridled.
Is that supposed to be an insult?
Yes,
said Devonshire.
but not to you.